Many designers base their interfaces on trends or gut feelings, which can lead to beautiful but frustrating designs. Not knowing psychological principles can overwhelm and confuse users, causing them to miss important information and abandon your site. These issues stem from ignoring cognitive limitations and behavioral patterns, which psychological studies can help us understand. Most of these studies have influenced the guidelines of Apple, Google, and various design courses, but those are just the results. I want to help you understand the principles behind them. This deep understanding will allow you to grasp design rules on a fundamental level. Our studio has applied these principles for years, and millions of users of our clients' apps and websites have provided enough data to confirm that our approach is correct, or at least effective. There are 5 key psychological principles that form the basis of 90% of all design rules, which number in the hundreds. It's easier to dive deep and understand these 5 than to memorize hundreds of rules. Let's talk about the famous invisible gorilla experiment by Chabris and Simons. It's one of those classic psychology experiments that shows just how easily we can miss things when we're focused on something else. Here's how it went down. They made a video with students passing a basketball. Viewers were asked to count the number of passes made by players in white shirts. Sounds simple, right? But while everyone was busy counting, a person in a gorilla suit walked right through the middle of the scene. And guess what? Most people didn't even notice the gorilla. This experiment was so impactful that it even won an IG Nobel Prize. The big takeaway here is about selective attention. This is when we focus on one specific thing and ignore everything else around us. Our brains can only handle so much information at once, so we filter out what seems unimportant to concentrate on what matters. Now, what does this mean for designers? Well, good designers know all about selective attention. They aim to make a user's experience as smooth as possible by minimizing unnecessary distractions on a page. Think about it. If a page is cluttered with irrelevant stuff, it's super frustrating to find what you actually need. That's why white space and limited options are crucial in design. They're not lazy design choices, they're smart ones. Another related concept is change blindness. This is when we fail to notice changes in our environment, like when a website layout shifts, or even when someone swaps places with another person right in front of us. Many experiments have shown that people often miss these changes if they're not specifically looking for them. This is why automatically rotating carousels on websites are usually a bad idea. Nielsen-Norman Group did a study with a carousel where users often missed important information because the slides kept changing. The target text was in huge 98-point font at the top of the page, yet users still missed it due to the auto-rotation. To combat these issues, designs need to make important changes and error messages obvious. If something needs attention, it should stand out clearly. Users are typically laser focused on their task and can easily overlook subtle cues, so always design with the user's needs in mind. Otherwise, your carefully placed elements might just be as invisible as that gorilla in the middle of the basketball game. And thanks to Ross Dillon, who carefully gathered this in article The Most Influential Psychological Studies on UX Design on Medium. Back in 1956, a study called The Magical Number 7 identified a key point about human cognition. It revealed that the average person can hold about 7 items, plus or minus 2, in their working memory. This means we can generally remember between 5 and 9 things at once. This insight became a cornerstone in psychology, cited by countless researchers. So what does this mean for designers? Well, it underscores the importance of simplicity. When it comes to navigation menus, for example, it's crucial to consider what users need to remember and what should be visible. No one wants to scroll through a long list of options and then have to go back to reread them. Miller's study shows our working memory isn't as robust as we might like to think. Let's break this down for design. Information architecture. UX designers need to organize information in ways that match our cognitive limits. By keeping Miller's magic number 7 in mind, designers can create hierarchies and navigation systems that make it easier for users to process and remember information. Content presentation. Presenting information in smaller chunks helps users understand and remember it better. Avoiding information overload by focusing on simplicity ensures users can effectively process the content. Form design. When designing forms, it's helpful to limit the number of required fields or break longer forms into multiple steps. This reduces cognitive load and makes the user experience more manageable. Visual hierarchy. Using headings, bullet points, and varied typography helps users scan and comprehend information more easily. Visual hierarchy techniques prioritize critical information and reduce cognitive strain. Navigation and menu design. Designers should create intuitive navigation systems with a limited number of options. Presenting a manageable number of choices helps users make decisions quickly and prevents decision fatigue. Overall, Miller's study reminds us that understanding human cognitive limits is crucial. By applying these insights, designers can create interfaces and experiences that align with our mental capacities, leading to more user-friendly and effective designs. Remain 3 and bonus 1 is much more famous, so I will tell about it shorter. Then there's Fitts' law, which states that the time required to move to a target depends on the distance and size of the target. For designers, this means creating larger and easily accessible buttons, placing critical interactive elements within easy reach, and effectively utilizing the edges and corners of screens. Balancing the size and distance of interactive elements is key to optimizing usability. Hicks' law is another important study. Hick and Hyman found that the more choices available, the longer it takes to make a decision. Designers should simplify choices for users to reduce decision paralysis. Streamline menus and options, consider user context, and ensure that interfaces are not overwhelming with too many stimuli. The Hawthorne effect, studied by Henry Landsberger, shows that people change their behavior when they know they are being observed. This means user behavior during testing might not reflect real-world use. To get more accurate feedback, use unobtrusive methods, create a natural testing environment, and combine observational studies with other methods like A/B testing for a comprehensive understanding. And here's an important point. In an ideal world, we'd have enough time to conduct thorough research and back up all decisions with precise data. We'd consider any conversion rate under 50% a failure, but in the real world, resources are limited. That's why we often rely on the Pareto principle. This principle suggests that 20% of the work brings 80% of the results. So it's crucial to identify that 20% that will give us a significant boost and then decide if it's worth spending the remaining 80% of the effort for the other 20% of results. In user research, where we previously had to ignore some studies due to constraints, we found a solution: ChatGPT. Simplified, mock studies using ChatGPT often take significantly less time and money compared to full-scale research. Yet they provide substantial insights compared to having no research at all. For a detailed explanation of our method with examples and prompts, check out our video on user interviews with ChatGPT.